So anyway, so I promised that I would also do a video on prophecies for one of my viewers. Because first I showed you all Mermail Atlanteans and how to get around them. Hopefully y'all were able to understand their weakness and how to get around them. This time I'm doing prophecies. So these guys are a little bit harder to get around because this deck in particular, but with most prophecy decks, because they tend to keep good hand advantage. As in, even though they might use up spellbook cards, they get them back like tenfold. Okay, maybe not tenfold, but they get them back very easily, especially with the spellbook Grand Tower or whatever the fuck it's called. So yeah, I'm just going through it right now. So I've got my 3 hand traps right there, Trags and Gores. So the reason why I have them is because you know, you don't want to get OTK'd. Also, they're level 7, so you can use them along with High Priestess of Prophecy to go into a rank 7. I've only got 2 rank 7s, but you know, whatnot. So also you can use the token from Gores for synchro and whatnot. But yeah, so every single prophecy deck that I've ever run into runs 3 High Priestess of Prophecies. It'd be ridiculous to not, because she's the boss monster of this deck. If I win a duel, it's usually because of her, not because of synchros or XYZs, because her effect is really good. So essentially what her effect is she can be special summoned herself. She can special summon herself, which means she can't be solemn warning, can't be solemn judgmented. She can't be judged, exactly. And once she's on the field, so it's a free special summon. If you've got 2 of her in your hand, if you can special summon the first one, you can obviously special summon the second one, which is really good. But once she's on the field, once per turn, she can banish a spellbook card that's in your graveyard and destroy a card on the field, which is really good. So you can destroy a back row, maybe it's a Mirror Force or Dimensional Prison, get that shit out of the way. Maybe it's, I don't know, what's a high attack monster that can be targeted? I don't know, a 5-headed dragon or something like that. But yeah, you run 3 of her because she can be brought out in more than just one way. That's the main reason why. So she's really good. She can be special summoned through one of the other prophecy monsters' effects. I'll show you in a little bit. She can be special summoned herself, which is actually pretty easy because the whole point of this deck is to keep spellbook cards in your hand. So I run 3 breakers because I don't have any MSTs. He is my MST. Also, if I don't want to use his MST effect, I can crash into a Thunder King Ryo. Because everyone knows Thunder King Ryo is the most annoying thing that's... In my opinion, that's more annoying than One Day of Peace, but that's because I like One Day of Peace. For all you haters out there that don't like Exodia, I love Exodia. So yeah, he can crash into Thunder King. He's also a dark monster. If you want to run Chaos Prophecies, that's an option. I run 2 Justice of Prophecies because during the end phase of every turn in which you activate a spellbook card, you can banish this card from the field, add both 1 level 5 or higher, which is going to be her, High Priestess of Prophecy, and a spellbook card. So usually it's going to be Spellbook of Wisdom or something, or the Grand Spellbook Tower, or Grim Book of... It's called Spellbook of Secrets, actually. Or Spellbook of Power. Add them to your hand, so you banish her and you add 2 cards to your hand. That's good for hand advantage. It's really good because next turn, chances are I'll be able to special summon High Priestess of Prophecy. But I run 2 Justice of Prophecies because she's a level 3. She's really easy to bring out. I run 1 Temperance of Prophecy during your main phase if you activate a spellbook card previously to summoning him. You can tribute this and special summon a High Priestess of Prophecy from your deck, essentially. Now, the reason why I only run 1 of him is because you can't special summon anything else the remainder of that turn pretty well. Can't special summon level 5 or higher, which is pretty well every other thing in my deck. So, you can special summon a rank 7 if all you needed was another High Priestess of Prophecy to go into a Big Eye or something, which is good. And that's the reason why I only run 1 of him, because he is easy to special summon. Because he's a level 3 with Spellbook Grand Tower, or whatever the hell it's called. I run 3 Spellbook Magician of Prophecies. You should always run 3 Spellbook Magician of Prophecies. Every Prophecy deck runs 3 of them, because Spellbook Magician of Prophecy is essentially another Spellbook of Secrets. You get to add 1 Spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand. Now, if it said just 1 Spellbook card, you could actually add another Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. which is pretty cool. If you read Spellbook of Secrets, it just says one Spellbook card. So you can actually use Spellbook of Secrets to add a Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, normal summon Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, add another Spellbook to your hand. It's like an endless cycle almost. It's really good, especially when you combine this with Spellbook of the Master or something. I'm not exactly sure what the hell the card that's right below Spellbook Magician is called, but yeah, it's a really good process of being able to add all your spellbooks that you ever wanted to your hand for that turn. And he can also go into rank 2s for Gachi Gachi if you have multiple on the field and whatnot. So I've got 2 Effect Veilers. I normally use the Effect Veiler for the, hand-trapped effect, but you can also use it for tuning, which is the reason why I have only like 6 Synchro monsters, because it's the only tuner in this deck. So it is possible to tune, but normally I'm just using it for the hand trap effect. And I'll only run 2 instead of 3, because you really only need 2 Effect Veilers, honestly. So don't even worry about it. I've got Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, and Monster Reborn, because it's, it's the staples of the deck, really. That's all you need. And so moving on, actually, I'll move over eventually, don't worry. I'm just showing like my extra deck and how I can go into all this crap with my tuning, with my tuner monsters. But Spellbook of Power essentially gives your any spellcaster, so it could be even Breaker if you wanted, and bonus 1,000 points attack. And if that monster destroys a monster in battle, you get to add a Spellbook card from your, except for Spellbook of Tower, I think, or Spellbook of Power, to your hand, which is really good, because then in main phase 2 you can activate Spellbook of Secrets, which you just added to your hand, and then activate anything else that you want before the turn is over. So it's really good. Plus it boosts up like High Priestess of Prophecy, so it can get over stuff like Blackluster Soldier or shit like that. Yeah, so it's really good. And then you've got Spellbook of it's actually called Spellbook of the Master. It's really good. So what it does is you can, any of your spellbooks that are in your graveyard, you can target it and make Spellbook of the Master's effect the same as that spellbook that's in the graveyard that you're targeting. So that actually makes it possible to activate 2 Spellbook of Secrets in one turn. You activate Spellbook of Secrets, then you activate Spellbook of the Master, target Spellbook of the Secrets in your graveyard, and have it also be Spellbook of Secrets, and then add like a Spellbook of Power to your hand for that. And it's good. You'd think, oh, well, that's pointless. No, actually, it's good, because there are a couple monsters and spell cards in this deck that it actually is dependent upon how many spellbooks you activated this turn, which is really good. The more spellbooks you activate this turn, the more spellbooks you'll get back in at the end of this turn. So you've also have Spellbook of Eternity, so you get to target one of your banished spellbooks and add it back to your hand. You can only activate once per turn. So the way that you're going to banish spellbooks is through High Priestess of Prophecy. That's the only way. I've only got 1 Spellbook of Eternity, because this is normally going to be played later in the game after you've already activated High Priestess of Prophecy's effect, and then you can add it back to your hand and activate it and whatnot. You should always run 3 copies of Spellbook of Secrets. It's the searcher for your deck. It's like the Tune Table of Contents for Prophecies. It is just amazing to have. You need it. It's an extra activation plus all of these other cards that can copy it and whatnot and bring it back to your hand. And you'll see with Spellbook Tower, whatever it's called, you can add it back to your deck and then redraw it. It's really good. So here's the Spellbook card that I was talking about. Divine Judgment of Spellbook. So you have to activate this card first, and every other Spellbook card that's activated after this activation is going to count towards its effect. So every other spellbook that's activated after this activation, at the end phase, you get to add that many spellbook cards from your deck to your hand. So if I activated Divine Judgment of Spellbook, then I activated Spellbook of Secrets, then I drew, added Spellbook of the Master to my hand, activated Spellbook of the Master to copy Spellbook of the Secrets, and then use Spellbook of Secrets effect to add a Spellbook of Power. Activate Spellbook of Power. That's 3 spellbooks. At the end phase, I'm going to get 3 more spellbooks to my hand for hand advantage. And its effect is I get to special summon a spellcaster of level equal to or lower than the number of spellbooks I just activated this turn. So I could special summon a Justice of Prophecy, and then because it's in the end phase, I get to banish Justice of Prophecy to add another spellbook card and special summon, or not special summon, add High Priestess of Prophecy to my hand. So that's 4 spellbooks plus High Priestess of Prophecy just from the Divine Judgment of Spellbooks effect. That is amazing for keeping hand advantage. And I only run 2 Divine Spellbooks of Judgment or whatever, because you don't want to draw into it too often, because you sort of want it in the middle of the game or in the late early stages, not in the early stages, not like your first or second draw, essentially. So another quick play spell card is Spellbook of Wisdom. You want 3 of these babies. These are the cards, or this card is what's going to keep your prophecies alive. Or it can even work on Breaker, the Magical Warrior, it doesn't really matter. But keeping them unaffected by spell cards or trap cards, and it's a spellbook card. So if this card is in your hand, you can special summon High Priestess of Prophecy first, then make it unaffected by Dimensional Prison or Mirror Force or whatnot. That is amazing, actually. So she can't be negated, her special summoning, so you don't have to worry about judgments or warnings keeping her from coming to the field. And then you don't have to worry about Mirror Force or any of that shit. So moving on, Necro Book of Spell. It's called Spellbook of Life in real life. So you banish a spell. So you essentially need 2 spellcasters in your graveyard. You banish one of the spellcasters and reveal a spellbook card in your hand. Chances are you're going to have a spellbook spell card in your hand. Target the other spellcaster that's in your graveyard that you want to special summon. Special summon and face-up attack and equip it with this card. The equipped monster's level is increased by the level of that monster that was banished to bring it. And you can only activate 1 Spellbook of Life per turn. I've only got 1 Spellbook of Life, so it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, so I'm normally doing it to bring back my High Priestess of Prophecy if she's in the grave. Because then I can, I don't really use its ability to, you know, add levels to it, because that doesn't really matter to me. It's mainly just like a free Monster Reborn without having Monster Reborn. So it's like having 2 Monster Reborns in your deck, essentially. Which is really good. Except it does have to be in face-up attack. But there are so many targets for it, it's really good. And there are a few spellcasters that once they're in your grave, like Breaker, they're useless. So you might as well banish it to, you know, bring back a spellcaster that's actually useful. And another equipped spell card that I have is Wonder Wand. So I normally equip this to my Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. And that's because as soon as I use my Spellbook Magician of Prophecy's effect, he's useless. He's a 500 attack monster. Even though Wonder Wand gives it an extra 500 attack, he's very weak and I don't want to be attacked from him. So what I'll do is I'll tribute him and the Wonder Wand to draw 2 additional cards. Talk about hand advantage. Like, honestly, I mean, it's a +0 if you had Wonder Wand and Spellbook Magician of Prophecy already in your hand. Normal summon, equip, draw 2 more cards. It goes through your deck, so it's somewhat good. But remember, Spellbook of Prophecy, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy added a Spellbook card to your hand, so it's actually a +1. Then you have Grand Spellbook Tower. Okay, so that's what it's called. I only have 2 of them because he's pretty easy to bring to your hand through other Spellbook cards. So you only need, you're really searching for them, you're not going to draw into them. So this card is what makes the Prophecies amazing. So as long as you have a Spellcaster type monster in your grave or on the field, during your standby phase, you can shuffle one of your Spellbook cards into your grave from your graveyard into your deck and then draw an additional card after your draw phase. That is amazing! Oh my gosh! This is how you get a +1 every turn. It's from that, as long as that stays on the field. And say your opponent's like, oh, I don't like that card. Let me MST it. Well, I made the mistake of running Quasar and MST this, so you get a special summon a Spellcaster type monster from your hand or deck whose level is less than or equal to the number of Spellbook spell cards in your graveyard if it's destroyed. That is crazy. So then you get field advantage if you don't get hand advantage. So it's really good, and I run 2 of them just because sometimes the first one does get destroyed. Very rarely, unless they're just packing the deck with MSTs. But being able to send cards like your Spellbook of Secrets or Spellbook of Power back into your deck so you can redraw it later on, That is extremely good, because I also recycle Spellbook of Wisdom. But any deck that can recycle your good cards is a deck to be feared. And then, of course, I've got the one Treacherous Trap hole, because only one trap, you know how Treacherous Trap hole works. Target 2 monsters on the field, destroy them. So, if your opponent makes the mistake of special summoning, then normal summoning, bam, those 2 monsters are gone. They're as good as gone. Unless it's like a Jinzo. Who runs Jinzo these days? So yeah, that's the 40-card deck. If I could give you any advice on how to stop these... Shit, it's going to be hard. Maybe running some Mirror Forces or Torrential Tributes. Hopefully they don't have a Spellbook of Wisdom. But a really good deck to go against this is my Exodia deck, because that's how I normally beat Exodia or Quasar. Especially Lava Out Quasars, because they can bounce cards back to the hand. So, because you're not destroying anything, you're targeting them with a monster effect to bounce it back to their hand with the Lava Out Dragon. So, that's my advice on how to beat these guys. If you're going to use a regular AOA deck, like a Dragoonity, All Out Assault, or Chaos Dragons, it's going to be very hard to beat Prophecies. Use an instant win or an OTK deck that does not target monsters to be destroyed. That's the only advice I have to get rid of Prophecies. But I've told you everything that this Prophecy deck can do. So just use that knowledge to go, work around this deck. Pretty much. I'm showing you the extra deck, but I'm not going to explain it. Except for, I guess, Magical Hierophant of... I don't know how you pronounce that last word. Once per turn, you can attach an XYZ material monster. Destroy spell trap cards your opponent controls up to the number of spellbook cards in your graveyard. This guy is essentially a Harpy's Feather Duster, because you usually pack at least 3 spellbooks in your graveyard. So as soon as he hits the field, pop 3 cards of back row on your opponent's side of the field. It is essentially a Harpy's Feather Duster, because, I mean, how often do they have more than 3 back row laid down? I mean, he is very good. And then Big Eye, of course. Steal, I've had my fucking Red Nova Dragon stolen from me from Big Eye. Big Eye can't attack that turn, but fucking Red Nova Dragon's sitting on 5,500 attack looking at me, and he's about to betray his own owner. That's really bad. But the rest of the extra deck isn't that great, so I'm not going to explain it, because I swear to God, I never use my extra deck, so it doesn't even fucking matter. It's mainly High Priestess of Prophecy that's the Beast card that's going to be doing any work, because her effect is extremely good, and she's 2,500 attack, and you can pump her up to 3,500 with Spellbook Power, which is what I do a lot of times. So I'm actually going to give you a couple of example duels, like maybe 2 or 3 duels, where I dueled against Jarvis, because I was just trying to go for a really quick, showing you how this deck works. So let me just go through it real quickly. So I've already got Spellbook of Secrets and Magician, Spellbook Magician. So normal summon. Oh well, actually I'm going to use his effect first. See, bam! Already you've got a High Priestess of Prophecy. Oh my gosh! Is that not amazing or what? And then next turn I can activate Divine Judgment of Spell, or whatnot. And if my High Priestess of Prophecy ever goes to the graveyard, I can activate Spellbook of Life, banish Temperance of Prophecy, to bring back my High Priestess of Prophecy, if she were to go to the graveyard. Plus I have a Monster Reborn, but yeah, whatever. So now you can summon him. Yeah, so I actually learned the hard way. You have to activate Divine Judgment of Spellbook, or whatever it's called, before you activate all the spellbooks. So I activated after. It's only going to add 1 card to my hand, I think, because I activated 1 afterwards. Yeah, see, I could have had 2 or 3 actually, added to my hand, but I was ignorant and whatnot. But yeah, so you can add, then special summon level 1, which is your Effect Veiler. So then you could go into Stardust here. But, you know, whatever. I'm just showing you all the hand advantage that you can keep. And now, use, yeah, Grand Spellbook Tower, shuffle it back in, get an extra draw, and then banish that to bring out High Priestess of Prophecy, and activate Spellbook of Secrets, and normal summon, and then add another one to your hand. And I could banish Spellbook of Secrets to destroy Luster Dragon, but I'm not. Instead, I'm going to use Spellbook of... yeah, see, this isn't going to give me any hand advantage at the end phase, you'll see. Because of Spellbook of Judgment. Because it has to be activated before you activate all your Spellbook cards. But there's so many combinations that I could have done to fuck over my opponent just then. But I didn't need to. Like, I had so many options. That's the idea. It's really good. So I could banish a Spellbook card to destroy that face down, and then use Spellbook of Eternity to bring that banished Spellbook back to my hand, like I actually am just doing right now. And then, but you know, I'm going to attack for game right here anyway. But yeah, this deck is extremely fast. It keeps good hand advantage, unlike the Mermail Atlantean deck. It's very hard with Mermail Atlanteans to keep hand advantage. But this deck is very good. Rarely do you ever have to even rely on your extra deck. So if you want to put like a Shooting Quasar Dragon in your extra deck for good luck, go ahead. And then you can just like look at him and you know, he'll be that encouragement that you need. Unfortunately, I can't really do anything with this shitty hand, but it's okay. Because I do have well, I was going to say I have Tragodia, but he didn't attack me, so whatever. So yeah, so I was just explaining the effect of Divine Judgment of Spellbook again. Or Spellbook of Judgment, or whatever it's called. So now I can normal summon that. Activate Spellbook of Power. Or actually, first what you should do is activate Spellbook of Judgment. Then activate Spellbook of Power if you want to do it. There we go, exactly. And of course that can run over whatever his face down is. So when it's destroyed, then I add a Spellbook card to my hand. Then I activate another one, so that's going to add 2. 3, that'll add 3 Spellbooks to my hand from Spellbook of Spellbook of Judgment's effect. 1, 2, 3. Plus I added a Spellbook and a Prophecy monster because of Justice of Prophecy's effect. Unfortunately that got destroyed. But yeah, so I'll take 2,000 damage. That's not that big of a deal because I'm about to special summon 2 High Priestess of Prophecies next turn. So that's really good. Plus I'll use that, put it back into my deck. So special summon the first one, special summon the second one, start activating spellbooks. I'll eventually activate a Spellbook of Power to power it up. But yeah, essentially I'm about to run train on my opponent. I mean, it didn't have to be Jarvis. It could have been any opponent, and really you're looking at any fucking opponent not being able to do much against this deck because you just play so many spell cards. If you wanted to fuck over this deck, you'd have to like first turn Shockmaster them with spells and hope that they don't have a High Priestess of Prophecy in their hand. Special summon it because High Priestess of Prophecy is going to run over a Shockmaster. So yeah. But anyway, another way to fuck this deck over is what's something that stops spells. I can't. I guess normal summon Light and Darkness Dragon, but that's about it. I'm trying to think of something that stops spells. There's not much that could stop this. So, but yeah, just like try to kill them as quickly as possible. That's the reason why I use Exodia and Quasar to stop them. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. This duel is coming to an end, so hopefully y'all enjoyed it, learned something from it. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's very destructive, very powerful. And if you have any questions or comments, you know, put them in the comment section. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks, and I bid you farewell.